Welcome back to Good Parenting. I'm Matt Bubala. Joining us in the studio right now is Jane Holl. She's one of the principal investigators of the National Children's Study. Now, I told you, listeners, about the National Children's Study about a year ago. You guys started talking about this, getting the word out. You were starting to look for families. This is a really awesome idea, I think. I'm a little nervous about how you're going to pull it all off because you're looking for at least 100,000 families where you will follow not only a baby from birth through life, but also, if you can, follow a mom from pregnancy through birth through up to 21 years of age of this child's life. Is that what we're trying to do here, Jane?
Yes, this will turn out to be the longest and most comprehensive study of children and mothers' health ever to be done in the United States. And this is a study that really builds on this notion that in order to answer some of those difficult questions about what causes some of the common conditions for childhood, that we really need to study the period before the disease occurs and specifically the period before women become pregnant and during their pregnancy.
I think one of my favorite things about this study is we hear about studies all the time that find out something very specific, and those are very good and those are very necessary. But I love the idea of finding a bunch of stuff out because I imagine in a lot of studies that were about diabetes, maybe something that could have helped some other blood issue could have been found out because of all this data that was gathered. And a lot of times I'm guessing that when something is very specific, we're not sharing all this information that maybe could be useful to somebody else. This will be so broad-based that I imagine you're going to be able to hopefully find out a lot of things about a lot of different things that we face.
That is exactly true. We now know that many health conditions are influenced by multiple factors. And so it really is necessary to have a very broad perspective when you're gathering information. And the National Children's Study, in fact, wants to understand the role of the environment on children's health. But when they define the word environment, they mean something very broad. We want to know about the surroundings of where children live, the air they breathe, the water they drink, the food they eat, but we also want to know about the environment in their home, their family composition, the social economic status of the family. We obviously want to know a great deal about their family, their own family's health history, because we know that it's this multitude of factors that can lead to disease or help prevent diseases.
Well, that is interesting because I think we think, well, let's look at food allergies for a minute, something that has exploded, I think, in commonality, but also in our mind because we hear so much about it and everybody knows somebody. I have 4 children at home. At least 2 of them have some sort of food allergy issue. I don't get it. I don't understand it. Is it, if it's passed through the blood, how do we have triplets? How does one of them have this and not the other 2? And how do, it's just so misunderstood. So I really am excited about something like this and the fact that you're looking at all these different areas because I think one thing that seems to stymie things is we have so many different areas where things have been added to food over the years. We're using plastic products. We're starting to worry about all these different things. And we don't know if one combining with this other thing we never would have thought, that's what finally tips the point. And by studying hundreds of thousands of people, I guess you're hoping that you're going to find some commonalities where we can say maybe this is what's going on.
Well, the other important aspect is not only the size of the study, but also the fact that we're starting before birth and we're following them long term. This type of study is the only type of study that will tell you about causality. Most other studies, if you gather information after the appearance of a disease, let's say of autism or asthma, and you ask the family about things that happened in the past, those studies only are able to tell you about an association. Whereas a prospective study, a long-term study that you gather information before actually you detect any of the conditions, is the only type of study that will actually give us answers about what causes things. And so that's why this study is so important. It's very analogous to how we learned about the role of smoking and heart disease. That study was the study that was also a longitudinal study, and that was really the definitive study that told us about the role that smoking plays not only on coronary artery disease, but on hypertension, diabetes, and other conditions. And that's dramatically changed how we manage those conditions in the United States. So this study should do something very similar for children's health.
Jane Holl, one of the principal investigators for the National Children's Study. You can find out more information at nationalchildrenstudy.gov. And even if you just type that into a search engine, it'll come up with websites for you. And there's separate websites within that for all the local areas. You can find out if you're in an area of need for somebody to register for this. And you told me off air that while the goal is 100,000, you guys are thinking now maybe that's going to expand and you're going to need even more people.
Yes, there has been some discussion among the scientists at the National Institutes of Health that there really is a need to probably go higher, more like 200,000 or 250,000 families.
What's the earliest do you think? I mean, I know you're doing this through 21 years of age, so it's a long time, but will you be reporting in a few years? Here's what we know so far. Will we get updates on here's what's happening?
Oh, absolutely. And remember that the one area which we think we're going to contribute a lot of new information is in the preconception and pregnancy. And that happens quite quickly. You follow a woman, she gets pregnant 9 months later, you have the major outcome, which is the
Right.
birth of the baby. So I expect in the next year or two, we will have some early findings from the study that will be very, very revealing.
Well, we look forward to having you back to talk about what you guys are finding out. Thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you.